Director Mulvaney, thanks for joining us here at Faith Nation. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks very much, as always, for having me.
Let me ask you, okay, so what are the chances here of a real budget? Here we go, 14 days and counting. Are we looking at another CR? I know you're going to say hopeful, I get it, but what are the real chances of a real budget here?
Yeah, and keep in mind, Washington uses different language than folks do back home. It's part of how we run the place. A budget to us is what I'll be introducing in a couple of weeks for next year. What we're talking about now is sort of a spending bill, a funding bill for this year. Keep in mind, here we are in the middle of 2018, and we do not have a spending plan, a permanent spending plan for the rest of this year. So that's what we operate under now is called continuing resolutions. That's where you hear that acronym CR. Anyway, so what are the chances of passing something to fund the government for the rest of the year? Fairly high. I think my Democrat friends learned a bitter lesson over the weekend that a government shutdown doesn't help them politically, and that sort of taking hostages over DACA is not going to help them further other discussions. So I think the chances of passing a spending bill are fairly good. Immigration discussions will begin immediately. In fact, they've already begun. The president met with half a dozen senators yesterday afternoon, technically before the government even opened up again. And those discussions will continue on a separate path. While the two things are linked and they will clearly be discussed together, it's entirely possible that you do get a funding bill to fund the government for the rest of the year, but not get an immigration bill.
When it comes to immigration and the wall, critics say it's a waste of money. Is this the most cost-efficient way to crack down on illegal immigration?
It is. There's simply places where the wall is the only fix that we can have. When you look at border security writ large, we do talk about things like more personnel, more technology, and more infrastructure. That means a wall, that means things like gates and roads, and I know that's sort of getting down deep in the weeds, but just building a wall border to border, coast to coast, doesn't solve the problems. Our priorities here have been fairly straightforward from the beginning. We have 4 of them that we've laid out for Congress. Number 1, we do want that southern border wall. We do want that border security. We also want to change the chain migration system, move away from that visa lottery system to a merit-based system, so we know that we want folks to come. We want legal immigration. Let's be very clear about that. We just want folks that we know can contribute to the community and become involved in the community. And then lastly, we want improvements to interior enforcement. How do we deal with folks who are here, who are breaking the law? It's much too difficult right now to get those folks out of the country. Those are our 4 principles that we take into those discussions. I know that Democrats have a different set of principles. That's fine. That's how negotiations take place.
Director Mulvaney, a quick follow-up on Dreamers. For those that are watching today, especially in the evangelical community, a lot of Hispanics, a lot of DACA kids out there, what's the message from this White House to them? They're concerned that they are going to be deported. What is that message?
Yeah, go back and look at what the president has said. He wants to solve this problem. He wants to figure out a way for the DACA folks to be able to stay in the country. People forget that when he suspended DACA and gave a 6-month notice, that was actually better than what likely would have happened. If the issue had stayed with the courts, there was a very good chance that DACA would have been gone overnight. So by giving Congress that 6-month chance, the president actually did the right thing in trying to get to a solution. The president wants to solve this. He said that many times on the record. We all want to solve it here at the White House. We just think it has to be done as part of an overall immigration solution. Why is that? Because if you, for lack of a better word, solve DACA now, but don't solve border security, then you're simply recreating the problem 5 or 10 or 15 years down the road. And we don't want to do that. That's not fair to anybody. We need to solve all of the issues. This is the time. We think this is the president to get this job done, and we think we can. Whether or not we can do it by February 8th is another question.
By the way, I know it's passed already, but this past weekend when the White House kind of went, or the president went a bit silent and there were some things going on at the White House, what was that weekend like? Maybe kind of take us inside a little bit. How was it playing out inside the White House during the shutdown?
Sure, it was actually a really busy time for a lot of us, including the folks who work at the Office of Management and Budget, because we're the folks who not only technically shut the government down. Believe it or not, I was the person who signed the order shutting the government down on Friday night. That's part of the duties of the director of the Office of Management and Budget. We had teams there late into Friday, in fact, very early into Saturday morning. And then Saturday was involved, we were heavily involved in trying to make sure we could manage the shutdown. So my office was here all day Friday, a lot of the night Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and obviously again on Monday, as we tried to figure out a way to do what the president told me to do, which is to try and make the shutdown hurt as least amount as possible, to keep as much of the government open as possible. For that reason, even during the march on Saturday, or there were folks here protesting the president, they were still able to enjoy the monuments on the Mall. That was different than the 2013 shutdown. The president gave me specific instructions: keep as much of the government open as you can, and that's how we spent our weekend, instead of negotiating on immigration, because that's what the president said we should be doing.
Director Mick Mulvaney, as always, great to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks y'all very much.